The number one thing that kills attraction with a woman who's actually into you isn't saying the wrong thing. It isn't her finding a new man. It isn't you being too short, too broke, or too boring. It's something that most men never expect. It's you falling for her too fast. The moment she senses you're already sold before she's earned it, something switches off in her brain, and most guys don't even realize it's happening. They think they're being real. They think showing their feelings early proves they're serious. But to her, it signals one thing: this guy doesn't have options. In this video, I'm gonna break down exactly why falling too fast destroys attraction and give you 5 specific ways to slow yourself down and give her a chance to chase you. Because here's the irony: the slower you go, the faster she falls for you. And to be clear, I'm not talking about going slow in terms of waiting 5 dates to go for the kiss. I'm talking about going slow in terms of your emotional investment and giving her the impression that you are desperate to be her boyfriend. So let's get into it. Hi, I'm Bobby Rio, and I want to tell you about the time I completely torpedoed things with one of the most beautiful women that I'd ever been out with. So picture this: I'm on a date with this adorable girl, probably one of, at the time, the most attractive girls I'd been out with in years, and she actually had a bit part in the movie Hitch. Before the date even started, I was already gone, right? I had already stalked her Instagram, already showed my friends her photos and how hot she was, and I already told my buddy that this one is different. And in a lot of ways, it felt different. We were having these long conversations before the first date, and she was opening up to me and telling me that I seemed different from other guys, and I really thought I had it in the bag. I really thought, like, oh man, this is my soulmate. So the date starts, and I get in the car with her. She picks me up, right? And which was already the first of many mistakes I made here. But I can already feel, when I get in the car and I see how attractive she looks, I just felt myself shift. I felt something change in me. And immediately I find myself just agreeing with things she's saying, and I'm not teasing her or challenging her or flirting with her like I normally do. I let her pick the restaurant. When we got there, I let her pick the wine. She made basically, I remember actually her going, hey, why don't we go sit over there? It's closer to the bar. And I was like, okay. And I followed her there. I was so busy worshiping her that I forgot to be the guy that she wanted to go out with in the first place. But the end of the night comes, and I now feel her energy shifting. She gives me the polite, thanks for a nice evening hug, not the lingering one. And before long, she's sending me the you're really nice but text. Now, that's what falling too fast does. It turns you into a watered down, agreeable, play it safe version of yourself. Mine happened in a very condensed timeline. I didn't even get to a second date with her because I had fallen for her before the actual first date. Now with clients, I see this happen where they date a girl for maybe 3 or 4 weeks, and that shift comes where they've fallen for her. They've mentally categorized her as their next girlfriend. They're thinking about what their kids are gonna look like. And anytime that happens, you're gonna shift into the play not to lose version of yourself, the version that avoids rejection, but also avoids attraction. And here's the thing I wish somebody had told me back then. Slowing down your feelings isn't about playing a game. It's about demonstrating something that women are hardwired to respond to: high status and selectivity. Because when a man falls in love too quickly, when he acts sold on a woman immediately, he's sending a very strong signal. And that signal says, I don't have many options. I don't get women like you very often, so I'm gonna cling to this with everything I've got. And she feels it instantly. I mean, when I was going out with that girl, she knew she was beautiful, but before we started hanging out, she probably assumed, by the way that I presented myself, that I was used to girls like her. She very quickly realized on that date that, whoa, I look at her as if she's out of my league. And when she feels that, think of it like this. Imagine you're walking through a high-end shopping district, and you see this really nice pair of shoes in a window. You know, they just look amazing, whatever, right? It looks like just super expensive shoes. And you walk in, and the salesperson barely looks up, and he says, take them, they're free, we're giving them away. Instantly, something shifts. You're not excited anymore. You're suspicious. You're like, what, giving them for free? Or, you know, what's going on here? Those can't be good. If they were good, there'd be lines out the door and be people waiting for them, and, you know. But that's what happens when you offer your commitment, your validations, and your feelings instantly. She thinks she's getting a Louis Vuitton bag, But when you rush, she realizes that she's getting a bag from Walmart. Not because you're actually low value, but because you're signaling low value by being too easy to catch, too easy to have. And it gets worse because when there's no challenge, there's no chase. And when there's no chase, there's no attraction. One thing I tell guys is a woman doesn't chase you because she's in love with you. She falls in love with you because she's chasing you. The act of investing into you, chasing you, trying to impress you, trying to win you over, trying to show you how special she is, that's when she's falling in love. So when it happens too quickly, you deprive her. You deprive her of all of that. That entire experience that allows her to fall in love, you deprive her of, and you make it impossible for her to really develop that strong attraction towards you. Another way I explain it is women are wired to want a tiger they have to tame, not a kitten that's already curled up in their lap on date 2. If she already knows you're obsessed, if there's zero uncertainty about where you stand, she gets bored every time. I see it. I've been coaching guys for a very long time, and I can see how quickly a woman gets bored when you reveal your feelings, right? This isn't about pretending you don't like her. It's not about acting, too cool for her or not trying to make a move on her. It's you mentally deciding this one is different. I can't mess this up. I really like this one. I see a future with her. She is going to pick up on that instantly. And once a woman knows she has you, it's over. So I'm going to walk you through 5 specific ways to slow down your feelings so you can actually keep the women you're most attracted to. Again, not by being cold, not by playing this hard to get game, but by developing the kind of inner game that makes you genuinely selective instead of desperately available. So let's get into it. And the first one is the judge frame. You want to adopt the judge frame. So a big reason why guys fall in love so fast is because they're secretly seeking a woman's approval. You go out on a date, and in the back of your mind, there's one question running on a loop. Does she like me? Is she having fun? Did that joke land? Should I have ordered a steak, or was that too expensive? You're basically auditioning for the role of her boyfriend, and she's the casting director. And just like a casting director knows there's other people outside of the door waiting for their chance to audition for the role, a woman knows that too. So now she gets to look at you and she gets to go, does he check this box? Does he? And when that happens, when you audition for someone, you hand them all the control, all the power of where this is gonna go. And most guys treat a date like a performance review. They're sitting there wondering how they're doing instead of wondering if she's worth your time. And women can feel this. They can feel when a guy has already decided that he's into her before she's said anything of substance. It's the equivalent of walking into a job interview and telling the hiring manager, I'll take whatever you offer. I don't even need to hear the salary. I don't care if you have benefits. I just want the job. You just tanked your value. So here's what you do instead. Slow down your feelings by changing the questions you're asking yourself. Instead of, does she like me? You start asking, do I like her? Instead of performing, you're evaluating. Instead of ignoring red flags to fit a fantasy, you're actually looking for the red flags. You're actually going into these initial, because here's the thing you have to understand. You don't get to, and I don't know how to stress this, because as much as I say this, guys just don't, somehow they know it on a theoretical level, but when they're with a woman early on, they can't grasp this fact. You do not know a woman for at least 6 months of spending time with her. You have not seen the red flags emerge, and they will emerge, right? Everyone has red flags. Now, the question becomes, are you willing to deal with those red flags when they emerge, right? And sometimes you are. Sometimes you're saying, I'll overlook the fact that she's got a bossy side, or I'll overlook the fact that she's a little crazy, right? Because you may be willing to overlook them, but you've got to know what you're dealing with before you agree to this, because you don't know a woman for at least 6 months. I can tell you that. After the 6 months mark and you meet her family and you see how she interacts with her family, you see how she deals when she's done something messed up. Is she the kind of woman who will own it and apologize? Does she value the same things you value? You don't know any of that yet. You should be going into these interactions with her. I want to have fun with her. I want to get to know her, but I also also want to see, does she fit my values, right? This doesn't mean you're being rude or dismissive. It means you're being selective. And here's the wild part. The moment she senses that you're screening her, that you're not just grateful to be there, she starts trying harder because now she's the one wondering, does he like me? I had a client, Tim, who used to go out on dates and he'd spend the whole time trying to make the woman laugh. Like literally, he'd tell joke after joke, agreeing with everything and laughing at stuff that he didn't even find funny. And I told him, next date, I want you to ask her this. Tell me something that's not boring about you. Right? And he almost was like, well, that's kind of a dick question. You know, I'm like, he's like, she'll think I'm a jerk. But I'm like, just try it. Just like, you're not having success with the way you're going about it. Try something new. So he tried it and he said it with a playful smirk. And you know what happened? She lit up. She started selling herself to him, told him about her travels, her weird hobbies, this funny story from college, because for the first time on a date, she wasn't the prize. He was. That's the judge frame. You're not there to impress her. You're there to decide. Now, just because I'm saying you're not there to impress her, that doesn't mean you don't go into the interaction being charming and being fun and being flirty. It just means in the back of your mind, you're going in going, I'm going to be myself. I'm going to be fun. I'm going to be flirty. Let me see what she has to offer. I'm going to give her the best version of myself here, the fun, flirty version. But is she giving me that too? And if she's not, then you have to be willing to say, Here's where most guys fail at this though, even when they try it. They adopt the judge frame on the outside, but they still have no idea what they're actually judging for. So they're sitting across from her asking, do I like her? And their brain just comes back with, well, she's pretty good looking. And hot, I'll tell you what, hot is not a standard. Hot is an observation. So here's the exercise I give every client before they go on a date. Write down your non-negotiables, not the obvious stuff. Go deeper than that. Don't write, she has to be attractive, right? I hope you find her attractive or else you shouldn't be going on a date with her. But write things like, does she get your sense of humor? Like my client Tim was like trying to make girls laugh and he didn't care if they had the same sense of humor or not. Well, to me, I want a woman where I find something funny and I can look at her and she finds it funny too and we're both on that same wavelength. Well, go into a date with the mindset of are we on the same wavelength with humor, right? Are we gonna laugh at the same things? Not is she funny, but does she laugh at the things that I think are funny? Or does every joke land like a punchline she's waiting for me to explain? If you're someone who values freedom, right? Spontaneous trips, keeping your Sundays open, not checking in every hour, do you get the sense her need for security is going to clash with that? Because it will, it always does. She says things like, I'm a type A personality, I have to plan everything out, and you're the kind of person who likes to travel and you like to just lounge and get to, you're not going to have fun on vacation with her. It's going to suck because you're going to become two completely different people. So what do you actually like when you're comfortable? Are you sarcastic? Are you weird about niche things? Do you have opinions that aren't popular? Does she match that, or does she seem like she needs to be like the version of you that's on your best behavior, right? Do your values actually line up, or are you just hoping they will because, she's standing close and you don't actually have a lot of options? These don't have to be deal breakers on date one, right? You're not drafting a marriage contract at dinner, but they should be things you're actively screening for instead of things you discover 3 months in after you've already handed her all your emotional real estate. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. You're not falling for her. You're falling for the idea of her. And you built that idea before she opened her mouth. The judge frame forces you to replace that fantasy with actual information. And when you're collecting real information, you can't fall as fast because you don't fall for someone you're still evaluating. Number 2. De-idolize her. You gotta practice de-idolization. So this is gonna sting a little, but it needs to be said. You can't slow down your feelings if you're worshiping her. And I'm not talking about being respectful or thinking she's attractive. I'm talking about what I call the goddess complex. This is when you meet a woman and immediately place her on a pedestal so high that you need a telescope to see her. You stop seeing her as a person and you start seeing her as this perfect, flawless being who graced you with her presence. And when you idolize someone like that, you rush. What also happens is whenever you're looking up at someone, what happens? If you're looking up at her, what are you forcing her to do? You're forcing her to look down at you. And a woman will never fall for a guy she's looking down at. She senses that you feel lucky, that you feel like this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Like if you don't lock it down now, the universe is gonna take her away. and she can feel that. I've been there. Remember that date I told you about, the actress? I had her on such a pedestal that I was afraid to have an opinion different from hers. She could have said, I think guys who read books are pretentious losers. And I would have been like, you know what? You're absolutely right. I've been acting so pretentious all my life. That's not attraction, right? That's worship. And the moment you idolize her, you force her to look down on you because you can't look up to someone and be their equal at the same time. So here's what you do. Remind yourself she's just a person. She's got insecurities, she's got flaws, she's got morning breath and weird laugh and probably a junk drawer full of shit she's been meaning to organize for 2 years. She's got an ex-boyfriend who probably treated her like crap and she chased anyway, right? There's this, you don't know her. She's not a goddess. She's a human being. And here's the action step that really makes this click. Stop visualizing a future with her after date 1. I know it feels good to go home and, but stop. I know your brain wants to do it. You've already named the kids. You've already picked out the house. You've already imagined the wedding toast where your buddy Mike cries. But every time you catch yourself projecting a fantasy onto her, ground yourself. Remind yourself, she's just a person who still needs to prove her character to me, not the other way around. Because here's what you have to realize. When you stop putting her on a pedestal, you stop rushing. And when you stop rushing, you become the kind of man she actually has to earn. That's infinitely more attractive to her than the guy who's already mentally married her after the appetizers show up to the table. Number 3, stop self-betrayal. Stop self-betrayal. All right, this one's the one nobody really wants to talk about because it requires you to be honest with yourself about something uncomfortable. Most of the time when you fall too fast, you already know what you're doing is wrong. Especially if you watch my videos, if you've been around my community, if you've gone through any of my trainings, you know you shouldn't cancel plans with your friends to hang out with her. You know you shouldn't be texting back in 30 seconds when she takes 3 hours. You know you shouldn't be playing the agreeable, nice guy version of yourself who laughs at things he doesn't find funny, who agrees with everything. You know you shouldn't be offering to do a woman favors who's invested nothing. Like, you know all this, but then you do it anyway because you found a way to justify it. My friends will understand. She only had this one night free. I'm not being a pushover. I just actually like her. I'm just a good guy. I would do this for anybody. No, you wouldn't. I know I usually don't do this, but she's different. That last one, that's the killer. She's different is the story every guy tells himself right before he betrays every standard he spent years building. I call this self-betrayal. And it's the real reason you fall too fast. Not because your feelings are out of control, but because you keep abandoning your own rules the moment someone attractive shows up. Here's what I found working with guys on this for years. The betrayal almost always happens in the same 3 or 4 places. So the fix isn't willpower in the moment. The fix is identifying your specific betrayal patterns in advance. Think about the last time things went sideways early. What did you do that you knew you shouldn't? Maybe it's that you always drop your hobbies the second a woman shows you interest, or you stop hanging out with your friends. Suddenly you're free every night of the week. Maybe it's that you always find yourself agreeing with her opinions on things that you actually care about because you don't want to rock the boat and risk friction. Maybe it's that you stop flirting and teasing the way you normally would because the more you like someone, the more you play it safe. That's what happened to me on my date with the actress. I can vividly remember not teasing her and going, yeah, but like, I don't know. And there was just something preventing me from teasing her because I was intimidated and I felt like I really liked her and I didn't want her to not get my, I was playing it safe. Whatever your version is, that is your self-betrayal pattern. And here's the thing about betraying yourself. She feels it. Even if she can't name it, she doesn't walk away thinking, he canceled plans for me, but she walks away thinking, something feels off. He doesn't seem like a guy with a life. The guys that I usually fall for are harder to get a hold of. They're, she just feels it because the version of you that keeps his plans, who holds his opinions, who doesn't perform for her approval, that's the version she's attracted to. The version that betrays himself to keep her comfortable is the version that loses her. So before your next date or your next interaction with someone that you're really into, a woman that you really like, write down your top 3 self-betrayal patterns. Not as a guilt exercise, as a pre-game checklist. You're essentially drawing a line in the sand before the emotion kicks in. Because once you're in it, once the chemistry's there, the laughing is happening, she's looking at you like that, your brain's gonna find 100 reasons why this situation is the exception. It's not. It never is. I can tell you that from 18 years of doing this. The guy who keeps the standards, even when he really likes her, is the guy the girl chases, the guy that gets to keep her, the guy who wins her. because that's what she wants. Stop betraying the version of yourself that she was attracted to in the first place. Now, before we go on, if you're the type of guy who does betray himself, you're like, man, I know I do this. I've got a guide called the Unbreakable OS. It's a complete framework for killing that voice in your head that makes you shrink, makes you second guess, makes you play small around the women you like. It contains over 50 inner game building exercises designed to be done one per day to have complete confidence around any woman. There's a link in the description below. Okay, so let's move to the next one. Number 4, live in gray area. All right, live in the gray area. This one will trip up a guy more than anything else because most men rush their feelings for one simple reason. They're uncomfortable with uncertainty. They're uncomfortable in this gray area of tension, of not knowing what's going on, of does she like me, does she not like me? They want to know where they stand. They want labels, they want definitions, they want clarity. They want to lock it down so they can stop feeling anxious. And I get it, that gray area, that space between she's into me and it's over, it feels like emotional torture. I've been there. I remember texting a girl that I was into and she went quiet for like a day and a half. And my brain went full like conspiracy theory mode. She said she had a work thing Thursday, but she posted a story with a wine glass and fairy lights, and that's not a work thing. That can't be a work thing. I'm pacing around my apartment like a detective trying to crack a case. And you know what I almost did? I almost sent the, hey, just checking in text. The one that's basically code for I'm spiraling and I need you to make me feel better. But here's what I've learned after 18 years of coaching guys through this exact moment. Attraction lives in the gray area. It's the uncertainty that keeps her coming back. It's the does he like me as much as I like him loop that plays in her head when she's falling asleep. And the moment you try to kill that uncertainty by confessing feelings early or by asking her, what are we? Where is this going? By rushing to define things, you kill the tension and you kill the attraction. So here's what to do instead. Resist the urge to define things just to relieve your own anxiety. Let the tension build. Let there be space where she wonders where she stands. Let her be the one going, wait, does he like me? Should I text him first this time? Flip your mindset from how do I get out of this uncomfortable feeling to how long can I stay in this gray area without flinching? And I'll tell you this, in life, not just with women, your ability to live in the gray area is completely tied to your level of success in almost any area. Your ability to stay in that gray area without flinching, that's power. A woman can feel it when you don't need the outcome nailed down, when you're cool whether she texts or she doesn't, when you're not emotionally spiraling just because she took 5 hours to respond. She doesn't fall for the guy who instantly makes her feel safe and certain. She falls for the guy who gives her butterflies and keeps her guessing. So stop trying to solve the gray area and live in it. Help build a summer home in it, because once you're comfortable there, she'll feel it. And as a side note, and this is, I consider myself a dating coach, but I also consider myself just a masculinity coach. And when you get comfortable dealing with tension and uncertainty, your life will improve in every area. Look at women as a way to practice this skill of living with tension. So the last one, and I want to push back on something that you've probably told yourself and probably believed it, because when I work with a guy who's chasing one particular woman, texting too much, moving too fast, already emotionally invested in someone that he's maybe been on a few dates with, I ask him why. And almost every time the answer comes back, and it always includes some version of women are just hard to meet right now. It's very hard to meet another woman like her. The opportunities are limited. The competition for girls like her is insane. He genuinely believes that women are scarce. And I'm here to tell you that that's not true. What's scarce, the real shortage usually isn't women. It's this. It's his social life. It's your courage to approach. It's your willingness to be seen. It's your personality that you display over text. It's your environment, right? It's the places where you can actually meet women. It's your openness to let go of a woman from your past who's emotionally holding you hostage and preventing you from meeting other women. It's your standards. It's your ability to start a conversation. It's your ability to flirt. It's your willingness to get rejected, right? The world is not empty. Your pipeline is empty. It's one, if not all of those things that are the scarce thing. It's not women. Women aren't scarce. It's one of the things I just listed, right? Maybe your social circle is scarce. Maybe your dating skills are scarce, but women are not scarce. And that's a very different problem with very different solutions. When you believe women are scarce, you behave like a man who's found the last seat on a lifeboat. You grip, you over communicate, you make every text feel like it matters way too much. You laugh too hard, you agree too fast, and you chase like your life depends on it. Because in your head, you're thinking, if this doesn't work out, I don't know when the next one comes around. And she feels all of it, right? Scarcity has a smell to it. I call it the smell of desperation. It's in how fast you respond, how available you are, how much you need the outcome to go your way. Compare that to the guy who's been working on himself. Not the guy who's dating a dozen different women, not running some manipulative, numbers game. I'm just talking about a man who has a life, who has a social circle, who goes places, who's always talking to people, who flirts without needing it to go anywhere, who has enough going on that any one person, no matter how great, can't become his whole world after 2 weeks. I talked about this in a recent video on how to remove a woman's power over you. And I talked about how if you think about a fish tank versus the ocean, and if you drop something in, a fish tank, it's a pretty big drop, right? It takes up a lot of space. But if you drop that same thing in the ocean, it doesn't even make a ripple. Well, if you look at it like your life, your social circle is an ocean versus a fish tank, one woman is not going to have the same effect on you. Right? You're no longer going to rush, not because you're playing it cool, because you actually aren't worried. So here's the honest question. Which part of your list, right, what I just went through, is actually scarce? Is it really that women aren't out there, or is it that you haven't put yourself in positions to meet them? Is it that the competition is too stiff, or you haven't developed the confidence to compete? Is it that you have no options, or that you're built a life that isn't generating them? Because I can tell you this from working with guys on this exact issue. When you fix the pipeline, when you start building a social life, putting yourself out there, getting on apps and going out to different events and meeting people, whether it's through classes or clubs or, what things you enjoy, engaging, saying yes to invitations instead of staying home, everything changes, including how you show up with a woman you're actually interested in. Suddenly, you're not, white knuckling every interaction. You're not obsessing over every text. You're not treating her like the last cup of water in the desert. Because not as a mindset trick, but as actual live reality that your life is full, whether this works out with her or not. A man in scarcity plays not to lose. A man with a real pipeline plays to win. Stop blaming the supply chain and fill the pipeline. If you want to learn how to become that man, the one women respect, pursue, invest in emotionally, then again, grab a copy of the Unbreakable OS. Inside, I'm going to show you the hidden attitudes that reframe status in any situation, how to develop natural authority in social settings, 7 mindsets and internal operating beliefs that once installed make you permanently immune to fear of rejection and need for validation. This Unbreakable OS, one of the things we do is we install an abundance mindset into you around women. We show you how to play to win instead of playing not to lose. If you've ever felt like you were doing everything right but still getting treated like a second option, then it's time to upgrade your operating system. So look, if you take nothing else from this video, remember this. The speed at which you fall is the speed at which she pulls away every time. Not because your feelings are wrong, right? You should have feelings for a woman. I'm not a stoic guy telling you that you shouldn't have feelings for a woman, but rushing those feelings, developing feelings here's the truth. Those feelings are not real. That's the problem. It's not that you can't have feelings. It's that you have to have feelings based on reality, not based on a fantasy you've concocted in your mind after a couple dates. And when you rush, you signal to her that you don't have options. You've already decided she's the one before she's earned it, and you're afraid of losing her. You're so afraid of losing her that you're willing to betray your own sense of self, your own standard. And women don't fall in love with the guy who's already fallen for them so fast. They fall in love with the guy who makes them earn it, who challenges them to prove how special they are, who gives them the thrill of the chase. The guy who's selective, the guy who's grounded, the guy whose validation actually means something because he's not giving it away like a participation trophy to every woman who shows interest. Again, the link for the Unbreakable OS is in the description below. And as always, if you like this video, hit the like button so other guys find it. Leave me a comment and let me know which of these 5 ways was the biggest insight for you, which one you're committed to putting into action. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss future videos.